Hey y'all, it's K-Bird Tweets, and this is Peace, Love, and Baseball. Hello there, and welcome in for another weekly episode of Peace, Love, and Baseball. I am your host, your friendly Twitterverse K-Bird Tweets. I'm Kelsey. Hi there. How are you? It's great to have you with me here for an episode of Peace, Love, and Baseball, where we are going to get back to our three pillars of peace, love, and baseball today. And they all run together and all that good stuff. And that is why we are here, right? So let's start with our first pillar, our peace pillar, which is really like health, wellness, self-care, all that good stuff. And today we're going to talk a little bit about food, just a little bit, because I have a very like low key like base level nutrition certification, and by no means do I want to make it seem like I have a deeper background. I'm not a dietitian or anything like that, but been having some thoughts about just our daily eating habits, our relationship with food as a society, and how food is readily available to us. And I've been thinking a lot about one of my favorite places, Trader Joe's, recently. So we're going to talk a little bit about Trader Joe's, but more so about finding the balance of food as fuel and food as fun, because I'm sure that you all can relate. You know, someone who is like, you or have done it, or you know someone who has done like such a specific diet that it really controls your life. It is a huge commitment, and it's something you've got to think about all the time. Might not be as fun to try to go out to eat because you can't really possibly know down to, everything that is being used in your dish and all that stuff. So there are those people or those times in life. But then we also know people like, I don't know, I had a conversation recently with someone that made me realize that not everyone has ever thought about food as fuel. Like they've never thought about in their whole life that like this food that I'm eating has protein in it. And that's something that I need, either whether it's based on what I did today physically or just by the fact that like we all need to just exist, live and breathe and lay perfectly still all day long. We have what is called a basal metabolic rate, which is the baseline of calories that your body burns by literally just existing. So if you didn't know, like literally if you laid in bed all day, you still would need to consume a certain amount of calories to just exist, to not wither away to nothing. And the more you exercise and stuff like that, that actually your basal metabolic rate is higher. So when you're doing nothing, you actually are burning more because of the time you were exercising. It's like it's a double whammy, which okay, we can get way more into that, but not today. This just sparked in my mind because I think it's something that is not a huge commitment, but if you take the time to just wrap your head around it once in your life, it can make a huge difference in your relationship with food as a whole. I myself am a huge foodie. Like I love food. Producer June, my dog, is right next to me here. And she hasn't been this up close and personal in a while I've been recording an episode, but we're talking about food, and June is an extremely food motivated dog. So I'm not surprised that she has come in on this conversation. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say right now too, is like, I'm a very food motivated person. I use food as a treat for myself. I look forward to having certain things. I look forward to every meal of the day. Like anytime I'm going to eat, I'm looking forward to it one way or the other. So I by no means am saying like that I would suggest any form of extreme or specific dieting, because I actually very much would not. But I think that there is a way, like, it's less intimidating than it seems to just think about creating a well-balanced meal. And it's actually easier to want to cook for yourself and put stuff together if you're thinking about things that way too. So if that's something that you're interested in hearing more about, we can absolutely dig deeper into it. We can find people who have more extensive backgrounds in that sort of stuff than I do. So hit me up, let me know, leave a comment. But all I'm saying today is that I think we should all have an understanding of basic macronutrients, which is your carbs, your carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, and that we should be having a balance of each of those in most meals. Now, that being said, this doesn't mean that you can't eat what you want and have food that is simply consumed because it's good for you, right? It's actually pretty easy to find what makes a well-balanced meal after you've spent even just a few weeks thinking about it regularly. I have never done any extreme dieting or anything super particular in my entire life, but what I did do and what I have done a couple of times or handful of times, maybe like 4 to 5 times ever, is I've tracked my macros very closely, which means I'm weighing out my food, I'm entering it into my Fitness Pal. I'm actually going to link the episode where I did like a tutorial on using my Fitness Pal for free. So if you are interested in hearing even more about macronutrients and how to actually do this, you can listen to that episode that's going to be in the show notes that I did probably at least a year ago at this point. But yeah, it's something that once you do it once, it changes your entire perception without it seeming too extreme. It literally just like teaches you how to put a well-balanced meal together, and it proves to you that your body feels better when you do that. And it just makes such a big difference in how you sleep and how you recover and how you wake up in the morning and how you feel in the middle of the day. Like when you hit that wall at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like we all do to some extent, it's going to be a whole lot less or maybe even non-existent if you are balancing your macronutrients. I know. Oh my gosh, this is so nerdy. I don't want to spend too much time getting into the weeds on this right now, but let's bring it to baseball. This is peace, love, and baseball. Anytime a baseball player or any athlete for that matter changes their preparation or their workouts or a goal, or they're changing the way that they're preparing for anything, their approach, they are changing the way that they eat to cater to it. It is at least half of accomplishing any physical goal, if not more, is the way that you are fueling your body. My husband is very into health and wellness and all of that stuff as well, and he has so many great analogies for it, but one of them is he talks about food being like how you put gas in your car, right? And if you put the wrong type of gas in your car, it might run, but eventually like it's not going to run as well for as long, and there's going to be all these weird little problems that pop up with it that you're like, what's wrong with it? And it's simply that you're not putting the right type of gas, the right type of fuel in your car. So that's a really simple way to think about it, to correlate it directly to everything that we do as humans. But as baseball players, as they age, their training and their nutrition in tandem have to evolve. So whether they're in a recovery program for Tommy John, or they're trying to put on muscle to throw harder or have more power at the plate, they are adjusting their macros, their carbs, fats, and proteins accordingly. I would be so interested to know what Shohei Ohtani's approach has been, in that he's clearly very focused on producing at the plate, and he has done so at even another level this season than what we've seen before. He's actually, a quick update if you haven't heard it from all of the other baseball content, if you're living under a rock in the baseball world, he is currently the only player in history to have 45 home runs and 45 stolen bases in the same season. We've still got over 2 weeks left of the baseball season, so certainly he's going to add to that. But I mean, it is historic and incredible stuff that we are seeing from our baseball unicorn, Shohei Ohtani. But what we may have forgotten is that his rehab from Tommy John. Wait, we didn't call it Tommy John. His rehab from his what was more or less Tommy John, is a full-time job in itself. I think we're going to hear a lot about this in the off season because there's going to be a more clear timetable and like just evaluation on what we can expect to see from him as a position player of any kinds, a pitcher or a position player, because I think that's still very much, up in the air, and we'll see. But in tandem with this conversation, I guess what I'm saying is how he would eat to execute for what he's doing at the plate and how he's, performing as a DH is different than what he might do for it's definitely different. It's not might, it is different than what he would do if he was just focusing on his Tommy John rehab. So I don't know. That's just one of the many things that would be different if he wasn't playing as a hitter this season. And obviously we are so fortunate that he is, blah, blah, blah. But at what cost for the other side of his game? We will find out. And that'll be really fun and interesting to talk about all through the off season. But okay, for you and me, let's get back to you and me, the average Joes out here, if you will. I've got to tell you that a place that you can shop that is going to help you out, especially if you are cooking for like just yourself or one other person. I think that's a really common excuse or barrier, I should say, a barrier for people. And it has been for me too. If you're cooking for only yourself or just one other person, it can be really hard to want to cook and to, come up with interesting enough things or different enough things that you can have well-balanced meals. This place is also very family friendly too. It's called Trader Joe's. It's a grocery store. I know they're not everywhere. They're not super accessible for everyone, but where I am at and where I have lived my entire adult life, there's always been a Trader Joe's nearby. So I've been a fan. I've been a consumer for many, many years. I currently have a little more inside information on Trader Joe's than I've had in the past. So not going to get into too much detail with that. But if you want to do more Trader Joe's reviews and online, product features is a very big market in itself. Maybe I'll just become a full-on Trader Joe's influencer. But I want to talk about it because Trader Joe's is truly nailing it. First of all, did you know that Trader Joe's is completely self-sufficient, which means that they are producing all their own products? I did not know that. Like, I know you can't get the stuff at Trader Joe's anywhere else, I guess, at least not the way that it's packaged, right? But I don't know I just never really thought about it. They're completely self-sufficient, and all of their products actually meet the UK food standards and regulations, which tossed back to another episode, which I'll throw in the show notes. I did an episode with my sister who lives in London. This was probably like a year and a half, maybe even 2 years ago. It was one of the first like 10 episodes or something that I ever did. And we talked about how the difference in food regulations from the United States and the UK. And depending on who you are and what you've heard and what your perspective on this is, you might be like, oh, well, screw that. But no, the only reason I think anyone would not be game for the food regulations that they have in the UK is because you don't want to lose the taste and the experience and like the indulgence, right? Trader Joe's, this is why I'm shocked. Trader Joe's has all like really, really delicious stuff. They have all kinds of indulgences. In fact, it's one of my favorite places to go if I'm looking to get down on like some, really savory appetizers or an awesome cookie. Oh my gosh, you guys, they have these waffle things that literally, it's like a waffle that it's individually packaged, but it tastes like a glazed donut, but it's a waffle. I mean, my point is that they have like all the most indulgent stuff. You're not going to be missing flavor here at all. So I'm really impressed that all of their products meet UK food standards and regulations, which means that they have a lot of less additives and controversial things that you just simply put don't want to be worried about having in your food. And here is, I think, one of the biggest misconceptions about Trader Joe's and why I wanted to talk about it today is Trader Joe's prices are actually so much better than the grocery store that you are probably going to. They are competitive with Aldi prices, but they have many more specialty type products and higher quality foods, fresher produce, etc. So I have heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, well, yeah, like I would go to Trader Joe's, but I'm only going to go there to get like a special thing or whatever, or if you want to break the bank, if you want to mortgage the farm, go to Trader Joe's." And that's a really big misconception, and I actually didn't realize again until more recently how competitive their pricing is and the way that their business model works is as they've opened more stores because they produce all their own products, the prices actually go down. And so a lot of the things have stayed the same while everything else has inflated. Their prices on things have stayed the same that they've had for years, which is just incredible, makes total sense. And and the fact that that is like a commitment that they have for their consumers is special and unique, and I just really appreciate it. So, before we move on from our peace segment, I wanted to give you a few of my favorite Trader Joe's products if you're going to give it a go or maybe shop there more regularly since we've had this combo now. So, one of the things that I think can make a huge difference in preparing food for yourself and the way that you enjoy it, and any well balanced meal being something that you're going to enjoy more, is having the right spices. And they have so many good spices. Like, if you just go to their spice section, you are going to have so much fun. But here are a few that I would like are my go tos that I always have in my house all the time. This is a newer one. It's called aglio olio. It's garlicky and spicy. It's green. I don't know. It's a little spicy. It's not too spicy. Along with that, the garlic salt that they have, like yes, I know you can get garlic salt anywhere. No. It's in a grinder, so it's in the pepper grinder, my friends. So it's like actually there's actually like dried cloves of garlic in the grinder along with the like Himalayan sea salt and some other spices, and it's next level. You will never buy our other garlic salt again after you buy Trader Joe's garlic salt. There's also a green sauce, the green dragon sauce. I cannot live without. I use it on at least one meal a day. It is kind of like a green version of sriracha, but because it's green and not red, it's much less acidic. It's much easier on your stomach. So if you're somebody who loves spicy food, but you're like, spicy food doesn't like me, you got to try the green dragon sauce from Trader Joe's. Another sauce that is kind of similar to that, but different, has more of a citrusy flavor to it, is the yuzu sauce. Now, some breakfast stuff. They have two great different kinds of breakfast chicken sausage. Really easy to make, like one morning, maybe get up like 10 minutes early and make your chicken sausages. And then you have the whole package for the week. That's what we do. And you can just warm them back up the rest of the week. They also have a lot of great seasonal products. And you know me, I am as basic as they come when it comes to loving fall and loving pumpkin things. So I'm going to recommend to you their gluten-free pumpkin pancake mix. It's really easy to make. I think you just add water and or milk and eggs and oil and or butter. It literally takes less than 5 minutes to mix it up. You can make pancakes, or I use it in my waffle maker. And I've never been gluten-free. Like I said, I've never done anything particularly extreme, but they taste great. And since they are gluten-free, they're a little bit lighter, just like generally lighter. They don't feel as heavy, which I don't love to eat heavy stuff, especially in the morning. I think that's why a lot of people skip breakfast. So anyway, going to be good flavor, get you a good, well-balanced meal there. And yeah, a little bit lighter for you too. They also have amazingly delicious Greek yogurt. It is my favorite Greek yogurt I've had from anywhere. I want you to make sure, just say it with me. Do it with me here. We're getting the whole milk, like the full fat Greek yogurt. Just do it. It tastes so much better. If you get it in the little cups, they make the perfect serving sizes where you don't have to feel bad about it because it's good fat and it's fat that you need for a well-balanced diet. Like, don't eat 20 of them, okay? Don't eat 3 of them. You can have 1 or 2 a day. Literally, they're delicious. I eat them instead of ice cream because you know what? I actually literally like them more than ice cream. This is what I'm talking about. My favorite one is the honey one, but I really like the vanilla one too. They have a bunch of fruit flavored ones. Like they're all delicious. Just they have non-fat too if you really need to do it. But I'm telling you, just get the full fat one and live your best life. Your body will thank you. They also sell Orgain plant-based protein, which I'm a really big fan of. I think they just have it in like the vanilla and chocolate. It's pretty basic flavors, but something else that I love to do is putting the Orgain protein in the Greek yogurt. Oh, it's delicious. It's so great for either like pre or post workout. Again, this is like what I'm having at night instead of as a dessert. This is what I'm having, and it is a dessert type consistency, and it tastes delicious. Give it a go. They also have a lot of great frozen stuff, and this I used to live off of before I met my husband, who is a much better cook than I am and just likes to cook more than I do. So one of the things that I had it for lunch or dinner like every other day. They have a frozen salsa verde chicken enchiladas. It's 2 enchiladas. You warm them up in the microwave. It takes literally like 2 minutes, and again, really well balanced. None of the additives and stuff you have to worry about. It's very fresh tasting for being a frozen item, especially. Another frozen thing, it's called kimbap. This is something that I just discovered. It is rice, tofu, and veggies. So it looks like a little sushi roll. And I think it comes in packs of, I want to say 12. It might be 9. I don't know. I think there's like sections of 3. I think there's 4 sections of 3. So I think there's 12 in there. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, it's frozen. You put it in the freezer. You pop it in the microwave for, again, I think 2 minutes, maybe even less than that. And you've got a perfect side for, your carbs and your veggies, your side to go with any protein. And it's like, I mean, I cut them up and I like eat a bite, a bite of chicken, a bite of kimbap. So good. It does have seaweed around it, which like don't be weird about it. It really doesn't taste like anything and it's good for you. They also have a lot of different like ethnic foods different from different cultures that are really delicious that again they have sourced and bought recipes from these other regions to make it very authentic. So they have another like prepackaged thing that's just really easy to throw together is called khichdi, which is an Indian food. It's grains and legumes and Indian food seasonings. I love it. I saw a review of this product from someone. They were rating, I think, the Trader Joe's Indian foods, and this was like their least favorite one of like 15 different foods or something. But I love it. Again, you warm it up in the microwave for a literal minute, and it's like the perfect thing to just put with chicken or with fish or with anything, with rice. If you're not even having, you should have protein. You should have some protein, have something, but put it with your tofu. Like it is delicious. It's just all the right seasonings with, again, just enough carbs that even if you're like on the lower carb end, it's going to be perfect for you. They've got great meats at Trader Joe's. That's just a little shout out to kind of wrap this up here. Their steak is really well priced, even better than Costco, y'all. And it is excellent. I also like live with someone who knows how to cook steak really well for me, so I'm sure that helps. But their fish, salmon, other sorts of fish, it all looks great all the time. Maybe it's just because I'm on the East Coast, but I don't think so, because even when I lived in Chicago, I would get my salmon from there all the time. One more shout out for my pumpkin fans. They do have a seasonal pumpkin rooibos tea, which I am finding is a great alternative from the second cup of coffee, friends. I drink espresso instead of coffee, and we probably have talked about that. We can talk about it again if you want to, but easier on your stomach, but so is tea. And basically I have found that like the second cup of coffee, I want it because, or the second espresso for me, I want it because I love the taste of it. And I usually drink the first one pretty fast and I just want another one, but I don't need the caffeine. I just don't need it. So pumpkin rooibos tea, it is caffeine free. It is an herbal tea, but it's dark. It has like the consistency, I guess, of black tea. And I'm having that instead of my second cup of coffee. And it's delicious. And it's not making me feel jittery at all. We love it. I can't talk too much about this because I already talked way too long about this is a Trader Joe's podcast now. But they also have skincare and body care and supplements, and they are cheaper and higher quality than Walgreens or CVS, Target, etc. Even like I honestly think it's better quality than like the stuff that you're going to spend 3 times as much for at Whole Foods, places like that. So I just started using a lot of that stuff because I just realized that they have it. So maybe we'll do some reviews of their like skincare and supplements and stuff like that as I learn more about them because this is a Trader Joe's podcast now. But anyway, anytime that I can find something that I'm like, this is a game changer for how I live my best life and feel my best, I gotta tell you about it. And Trader Joe's is changing the game. If you do not have one near you and you've been listening to this, like I know my mom is like, I wish I had one near me. You will soon. Like they're go talk to whoever makes those decisions, your community, and start a petition for a Trader Joe's. The closest one to me actually right now is like 20 minutes away, and it is 1000% worth it. So go on your day off, maybe get a little time away from the kids, say, honey, I'm going to go out for a 2-hour trip to just mosey around the Trader Joe's and have yourself a great time. Okay, our love pillar today is going to be on the power of community, my friends. In studies of longevity, community and personal relationships is clearly proven as a major factor in those who live happiest, healthiest, and longest lives. We've talked about the Blue Zones documentary. If you haven't watched that, check it out. It is a huge, huge piece of it. It is proven by science. We always hear about the X factor on winning teams and the most successful teams, especially with baseball, such a team-based sport, being the vibes, right? Let me tell you what vibes comes down to: the community, the camaraderie. You cannot ignore it and its importance and effectiveness. But here's the thing. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's really hard in my experience to make friends and to find a community as an adult. I am saying that as someone who just moved halfway across the country. I know like one whole person that lives at least in my like 10 miles of where I live, other than my husband. I know one person. So especially in the age of the digital world that we are living in, and we're going back into the office. I would love to hear from you if you are, by any chance, one of the people like me who I have worked pretty much 90% of the time remotely ever since I started my job. But that's because I started in 2021. So since the pandemic, we've been more or less fully remote. And now that like 5 whole years has gone by of us operating this way, in a way that has only improved for a lot of companies, their costs of operation, and also just the efficiency and the production that they're getting from employees. There is some reason why they are having us come back. And I know it's not just the company that I work for. There's a lot of them out there. And it's not that I don't see any value in it, because that's exactly what we're talking about right now, right? Just the importance of community, the importance of us seeing each other and being in a shared space. But here is the thing. It is not enough for companies to force people into a shared space. We have to commit to community within the workplace as a culture, and we have to cultivate it through specific initiatives that prioritize interaction and relationship building in the workplace. I will tell you, I can only say this because I've had this experience now. It feels way lonelier to be in a space surrounded by a bunch of people who are not interacting than it does to be alone. At least in my experience. And by alone, I'm still with my pets. Being with pets is very different than being alone. But man, I am a people person. I really like being around people. I like to interact. It's a very like natural and not forced thing for me generally. So for that reason, I'm like, yeah, let's get back together. Let's do it. but we have to like actually do it and not just force us into a shared space. So I would love to hear if anyone else is having that experience, or like if you work for a company that you feel like does a good job of it. It totally depends on the nature of your work too, because there are jobs that, just by the nature of the job, you have to work together more. But there are also a lot of companies, I think more and more these days, that have individual contributors. And maybe even the way that you worked during the pandemic changed that even more. So, how do we have any kind of collaboration or collaborative efforts just simply to have community in the workplace? I also want to talk about it in outside of the workplace. I am finding new places to work out since I live here now, and I am returning to group fitness for the first time in many years. So you may or may not know that I taught group fitness for a long time, almost like 10 years or something. I worked full time in the fitness industry for almost 10 years. But it's been almost 3 years since I have taken group fitness classes. It's been even longer since I took group fitness classes just to take them, because I was taking them to like evaluate other people, or, be a part of the community that I was managing. And it was all like there was always an like another motive or another reason for me to be doing that. So I am doing it for the first time in many, many years, just for me, just to do it because it is something that I really enjoy. And the scariest part is actually being the one who doesn't know anybody. It's scary to go in and do a new workout. And that's something that maybe we'll get deeper into on another episode too, of, man, I have a lot of issues with the fitness industry, like only catering to the 5% of the world, maybe less, that are already in good enough shape to be able to partake in those classes. Cause I'm going, and again, like I worked in the fitness industry for a long time. I am very committed to, I do my strength training and my cardio on my own at home. So I go into these classes, and like the shape that I am in, I'm not talking about how I look or anything. I'm talking about like, I am strong. I am in very good cardiovascular health. So I can go into these classes and like, I'm doing something different than what I'm doing at home. And anytime you try something different, it's going to hit you in a different way. It's going to be a different type of challenging, and that's why it's important to do it. But that's not the purpose of what I'm talking about right now. So it is it is challenging for me. And so if I'm going in there and being like, this is really challenging for me, it would be next to impossible for someone beginning their fitness journey. And so it's super intimidating, and that bums me out. But the point of it around community is the scariest part of it. I still think, even if you're going in being like, I don't know if I can physically cut this, it's hard not to know anybody and not to have friends and people to talk to in class, and not to mention how much it helps to have people expecting to see you show up on the days when you're like, I don't really want to get up early and go, or, I just want to veg out on the couch at the end of the day. Sometimes the hardest part is having somebody who is expecting to see you there, and that helps. So, I don't know. I do want to give myself a little bit more credit. I've been going to these classes and been thinking about it from a business perspective of like what I would have thought about when I was in the fitness industry. And that's a big part of why I ultimately wanted to leave it. Was it bothered me how it wasn't for everyone. But it is still hard to do something new. And in a way, it's it's challenging in a different way for me, because I'm used to doing specific types of moves. I'm also really used to specific types of cueing. I'm a very audio driven person. Here we are on my podcast. Imagine that. But so in a way, I'm already kind of set in my ways. And because of that, it's harder for me to pick up on something that is just like different stylistically and intentionally. So, yeah, my point with saying that is, even if you're doing something and you're like, I should be good at this, still give yourself credit, because showing up and doing anything even remotely new. Like, even if it's something that's kind of in your comfort space, like I am a fitness person, it's still hard, and it's hard to choose to do it over and over and over again and stay consistent. So good for me and good for you. And give yourself the credit. Give yourself credit. I feel like that's something that helps me a lot. Is that self-talk of saying like, I'm proud of myself for doing that today. So be proud of yourself. If you go and try out Trader Joe's for the first time and find a couple things that might help you cook at home a few more nights a week, right? Let's wrap up today. We gotta talk baseball. We gotta talk hard and fast baseball because there are 20 games or less left for all of the Major League Baseball teams as of September 10th when this episode is coming out. And I think the biggest storyline right now is probably that the NL wild card race is tight. And in addition to the Diamondbacks, Padres, Braves, and Mets, who are all within 2 games of each other, only 3 of them can claim, of those 4 teams, can claim wild card spots. There's also the Cubs and the Cardinals, baby. The Cardinals, who are 5 and 6 games out of a wild card spot and living into Lululand, that they are still in contention. I mean, they are for all practical purposes, right? So here's where we start to get into magic number territory, and you're going to hear a lot about that, and that is how many games a team needs to win or have between them and another team in order to clinch what will first be playoff berth, and then they will either clinch their division or clinch a wild card ultimately. And we're going to talk a lot more about that next week because it's going to become more and more clear. I guess my question for you, if you're listening and if you want to leave a comment, would be what 3 teams, those NL teams, do you think are going to end up being the 3 wild card teams? Because one of those, even if you think the Diamondbacks, Padres, Braves, Mets, like Cubs and Cardinals are just out of it, which is totally fair at this point. Probably smart of you to not want to live in Lululand. I'm not saying that I am. Listen, I want to, but I'm not there. Anyway, one of those 4 teams is not going to make it. I don't know right now who I think, because if I'm being honest with you, I think the Braves actually might be the team, which wouldn't that be insane? Wouldn't that be insane if the Atlanta Braves do not even make the playoffs this season? It would be nuts. But if I'm looking at it right now and I'm going off vibes and who's hot and what the schedules look like, I might have to take the Braves out of playoff contention. I don't know. It's going to be really fun and exciting as we get closer and closer. But next week, we're going to talk about different groups of teams that are no longer in contention too, and how fans can still enjoy games and what is meaningful about them. Because there are still meaningful things about these games that seem meaningless between, the Rockies and the Cardinals. They're not playing, but I should have looked up a series that's actually going to happen that will seem meaningless down the stretch here. But the Cardinals and the Pirates are going to play each other again, right? So like, what can we look at in that series and take away from it in terms of meaningfulness for us as baseball fans? You can glean perspective on how to get through the duller times or even just stagnant times in life by the way that you look at your team during times like this. So this is going to be important peace, love, and baseball talk. It's going to be a deep therapy session that you're going to want to get in on. It can be a whole life lesson, and I'm going to be here for you with it next week. Big storylines that we are following as the season wraps up, along with Ohtani's historic offensive season that we talked about. We've got some really great Rookie of the Year candidates, from Jackson Merrill and Paul Skeens to Colton Cowser and Austin Wells in the American League. We're watching Aaron Judge because he is on pace right now, he's on pace for 57 home runs. He's currently at 51. He hit his 50 and 51st home run when I was actually at Yankee Stadium, I guess almost 2 weeks ago now. So it's been a while. He hasn't hit a home run since Susie and I were at Yankee Stadium. So I'm sorry, Yankee fans, that we haven't been back yet. But when he hit those, because it was so long ago, he was on pace to potentially break his record or meet his record of 62 home runs. But we'll see. I mean, he can always have another day like that, right? Where he hits 2 or 3 home runs in one game, and then the pace changes every day. Another big storyline is that I guess we're in full on Scott Boras revenge season. If you haven't heard already, Matt Chapman, who's an infielder for the San Francisco Giants, has signed a big 6-year deal. He's a Scott Boras client. And Jordan Montgomery had some words about Scott Boras too. So we're going to have to get into all of that as the season comes to a close. And you know that I have some real opinions about Scott Boras and how I hope revenge season fizzles out before it even starts, but we shall see. And we'll break it all down and get deeper and deeper into peace, love, and baseball. Make sure that you are following me on Twitter at KBirdTweets. That is KBURD tweets. We are on YouTube on the K-Bird Tweets YouTube channel, Peace, Love, and Baseball, on Instagram at peace.love.baseball, and the Facebook page is called Peace, Love, and Baseball. So make sure you find us online, especially if you are watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform. Make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast and you hit that thumbs up, you subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. I greatly appreciate it because it really helps push things out and this kind of content out to other people who will like it. So, especially if you have a friend who might enjoy this episode and just enjoy the conversation that we've got going on here, send it to them as well. And that is the best way that we can keep spreading the good word of peace, love, and baseball. I'll see you next time.